the meeting so that we could share. All right, thank you. You are supposed to attempt the questions. Obviously, they are plot understanding questions, and then it will be good. But now, before we do that, why are we reading? Because we need to do it in an excerpt. And the first time, the excerpt was tested in KCSE 2024. So KCSE 2026, it will be an excerpt again. The excerpt in that year, KCSE 2024, came from page 72. So just before we begin, let us just turn to that. Page. The excerpt in KCSE 2024. Actually, it began in page 71. It began in page 71. Page 71, I have shared it on my screen. You can see it on my screen, although it is not clear because I am having the photo version of it. But now, if you have your book, you can just turn to page 71. The instructions will be the excerpt below, then answer the questions that follow. So maybe from your book, because my screen is not that clear, somebody can read. Somebody can read from page 71, where we have, I am glad you liked it. That is the second last paragraph. Second last paragraph. Just move on until I tell you to stop. If somebody is in a position to read, kindly raise your hand. If you are in a position to read, kindly raise your hand. If you are in a position to read, kindly raise your hand so that we can take very few minutes to read. Remember, we must do our 15 pages today, and they are 15 pages of intensive analysis. So maybe if we read quickly, the better. Let somebody read from page 71. I believe you are having your texts with you. I believe you are having your texts with you. Anyway, maybe I could see by a show of hands, how many have the set text, the book Fathers of Nations with them? If you have it, please raise your hand. If you have it, please raise your hand. Mildred has, Faith has. If you have the book Fathers of Nations with you, please raise your hand. Raise your hand, raise your hand. All right, I can see. Akim, do you have the book? Okay, Akim. Naisho, Stanley, do you have your books? Stanley, Kyoko, Winnie, and Naisho, do you have your books? Okay, Stanley. Very good. Almost. Actually, everybody who is in this class has that book. So I want somebody to read from page 71, the second last paragraph, very quickly, so that we can see why are we particularly reading this book. Well, it is to understand the plot, but then what next? So, Wangoi, please read from page 71. I am glad you liked it.
I'm glad you liked it, Mr. Longway, Dr. Afolabi said. His voice had become warm. You were there, then, Mr. Longway? Yes, but back in the last row, as a mere spectator. I did not want to be obstructive. Anyway, you were superb, Dr. Afolabi. If you don't mind me adding this, I was more impressed by the points that the audience raised afterwards during the question and answer period. Dr. Afolabi felt the praise he had just had turned into reproach. So, what were those points, Mr. Longway? He asked. His voice was less warm. Remember the guy from Grassroots International? Short fellow, round of body and outspoken of manner. What was his name? It's on the tip of my tongue. You must mean the fire eater who kept accusing me of looking for answers where I shouldn't even look, Dr. Afolabi said. Exactly. That's our man. Yes, I thought he was right on point, Dr. Afolabi. He too was unhappy with the present state. Wait, the present state of what? Africa. I don't understand. No problem. I'll spell it out for you. You see, Dr. Afolabi, Africa, in its present state, has two new arrivals, corruption and impunity. The first is a crime. The second protects from punishment. The second is another crime. The first rewards with kickbacks. That is Africa in its present state. Now, can it change? Tell me, can it? Well, let's ask the law of will. What? Unless there is will to change, there will be no change. That is the law of will, Dr. Folabi. I was wondering whether you might be interested in an adventure that is sponsored by AGDA. Oh, I'm sorry. Make that the Agency for Governance and Development in Africa. Its underlying idea is to mobilize our discontent with Africa in its present state into will to change it.
That is okay. That is okay. That is okay. Thank you so much. That is actually how the excerpt read in the year 2024. So at least we know the excerpt will not come from the same pages, although now we cannot really skip them and say we cannot read them. But now the excerpt will come from other parts. Actually, whatever happens in most of the times is that you will find that now that excerpt has come in the first half of the book. Maybe it could come in the second half of the book in the next exam, but it is not in our place to know where it will come from. All we need to do is to decide to read the whole book and understand. Now, the questions that we are reading this book to be in a position to answer, maybe somebody can read the first question if you can see it. Brian, if you can see the first question on my screen, you could read it kindly.
Where does this conversation take place and what happens before it?
That is okay. Where does this conversation take place and what happens before it? We were given 3 marks. Now, when that paper was being marked, somebody had to be very particular. And maybe by the end of it all, I will be telling you how you must be very particular and give all the information as far as this question is concerned. You must, if you say where, you must be very specific. For example, there are people who wrote that it is happening in the airplane. They did not get a mark because they had to go deeper and say it happened in an airplane. But now we ask ourselves, which one? In an airplane that was moving from Boston to Nigeria. That is very okay. And then now they had to tell us of how some cranky passenger wanted to change or to exchange his sitting positions with another and such kind of things. You must give information in full. Therefore, even as we start our reading, just put that at the back of your mind. The next question. Sorry for that. Let me scroll upwards. Question number B. Kyoko, maybe you could read it.
In your own words, explain how corruption and impunity are related and how this affects Africa.
That is okay. Why I am enthusiastic about reading this book inside out and knowing it is because where you are told in your own words, basically it is your own words, but again, you must put it in words that are relating to the flesh and the content of the book. So that was 2 marks, and you will expect such a question in your exam. I know later in the other holidays we shall have time to discuss this in details. But now I just want you to know why we are reading this book and why we need to understand it. Question number C, Ashley. Ashley, C. Ashley, question number C. All right. Let Esther Celine, question number C.
Explain the theme of change as brought out in this excerpt.
explain the change. Again, later maybe when we are talking about how to put the answers in the KCSE, I will explain to you how theme of change must be described in full, from the original, the process of change, and the new. But those are some of the questions you can be asked. Sometimes you can be told to identify themes, or you are just told to explain a particular theme like it happened in KCSE 2024. Question number D, Faith.
Describe the character of Mr. Longway as portrayed in the excerpt.
Describe the character of Mr. Longway as portrayed in the excerpt. I will tell you later how character is asked in various ways. You can even be asked, how does somebody appear? How does somebody come out? What do we say about Mr. Longway? But in this case, it was rather direct. Describe the character of Mr. Longway as portrayed in this excerpt. Question number E, Naisho. Naisho, number E. Naisho, question number E.
From your knowledge of the story, describe exactly what Mr. Longway wants Dr. Afolabi to do.
Exactly. From your knowledge of the story. That is exactly why I want us to read this book inside out, so that we can know the story. So aside from identifying the themes, the character traits, the stylistic devices, we also need to understand the story. And I understand sometimes when reading by your own, it might be difficult, because even if you watch a movie and somebody tells you to repeat watching the movie, I think sometimes it becomes difficult. But when we do it together, it will be actually better. Question number F, maybe who is this? Winnie, question number F.
Explain the effect of any two stylistic features used in the excerpt.
That is okay. Now, when we will be having a particularly paper 2 talk, I will tell you how, when you are given 6 marks, because sometimes you will be given 6 marks, sometimes you will be given 4 marks. So I will tell you the difference between how you phrase your answer when you are given 6 marks and how you phrase your answer when you are given 6 marks. The difference between 4 marks and 6 marks, or 2 marks per style and 3 marks per style for that matter. And then now we can go to question number G. Let who? Zeneta, question number G.
Rewrite the sentence as instructed. So what were those points, Mr. Longway? He asked. Begin, he asked Mr. Longway.
That is okay. That is also another question, and it will be there in your question, where you are asked to identify or to use your grammar knowledge. That one is okay. Number H. Let us have who? Number H. We can have. Wangoi again. Number H.
Explain the meaning of the following expressions as used in the excerpt. Roman 1, obstructive. Roman 2, turn into reproach. Roman 3, mobilize our discontent.
All right, that is okay. Now, right, I will later tell you. I hope I am clear, Akim. Akim, am I still clear?
Yes.
All right. I will later tell you what you need to do when you are asked to give meaning of words. But the reason again why we are going to read this book is so that we can demystify and actually look up the meanings of particular words in the book, so that whenever you are asked about the meaning of any particular word, then you will be in a position to answer the question and answer it well. So I think that is what I needed to do to give you the background of the lesson and the importance of having this lesson. Later, when we will be talking about poetry and imaginative composition, we will think about it in a different way. But for now, that is what I needed to give you as the background. And now our reading journey begins. Our reading journey begins. Our reading journey begins. So let us brace up. Let us tighten our safety belt, because we have started the journey. It has to come to an end. This book now with 14 chapters, we will not be reading per chapter. We will just read by pages, because like we have seen mathematically, we must read at least 15 pages per day. Maybe we can make them 16 so that it becomes clear. So I want us, at least we are 14 of us here. So 14 students actually at this lesson. So I want us to read a page each. I will be interjecting. Maybe before you finish, I will interject and say something. I would really wish if you have a pencil, and then you go circling, rounding, highlighting, it will actually be better. At the same time, maybe you can just note something on the notebook that you have, but those are some of the things that you will need to do, because the best way to revise for this book is by using the book itself. So you may circle with a pencil, you may underline even better person reading. Hakim, kazi kwako. From the first page, chapter 1, and maybe before he even starts, so Akim, I have seen your text. You have said you left your book in school. No problem. Please listen to us. Then in that case, we go to Ashley. Ashley, you may read. And before we even read, I like calling that part. I like calling that first part the gathering of the Alpha 4. The gathering of the Alpha 4. The gathering of the Alpha 4. So perhaps if you're writing down, just call it that. It is our first episode anyway. The gathering of the Alpha 4, or the Father Alpha 4 for that matter. Ashley, go ahead. Ashley, can you hear me? Ashley, can you hear me? From page 1, we are now reading from page 1. I can see your message. We are reading from page 1, Ashley. Right?
Okay, sorry.
All right, so no problem.
Chapter 1. 4 strangers checked in at the Seamount Hotel in Banjul one evening. None of them knew of the other 3 or about being one of the 4. And this would remain the case because, unknowingly, the hotel assigned them to different rooms on different floors in different wings. First to check in was a man aged about 60 years. His hairline had retreated all the way back to his crown, but there it had held, no more hair loss. He had a strange habit of smacking his lips as he talked, appearing to shape each word first to add voice to it only after. Arrival formalities required him to complete and sign a registration card at the hotel's front desk. He signed it as Karanja Kimani, professor in the Institute of Development Studies at the University of Nairobi, Kenya. The hotel gave him a room on the 4th floor of its east wing. Next to sign in was another man aged about 70. He had a bushy mustache, which in moments of speech wrinkled over his mouth like a moth fighting to free its wings, then fly away. The man registered as Ngombile Melusi, comrade and citizen of Zimbabwe. In the blank his card had for his occupation, he defiantly wrote, "Not applicable," on the 5th floor of the south wing. A younger man,
All right. Just pause there. We have read 3 paragraphs. I want you to notice that the first paragraph actually is just a background about the strangers. It's a background about the strangers. And actually, the style in that part is called just narration technique. So if you are to be asked to identify the style there, then it is narration technique. The author has begun by narrating the story to us. It is being told in the past. 4 strangers checked at the Seamount Hotel. And I want us to be very keen here because many students confuse between Seamount and Pinnacle Hotel, but this one was at the Seamount Hotel. The second paragraph, and it is always good to remember that the second paragraph is a description of Professor Karanja Kimani. It is a description of the professor, our good Professor Karanja Kimani in the book. I want you to know that the part of the crown, because we are being told that his hairline had retreated all the way back to his crown. Crown is the topmost part of the head. So that if you are asked to give the meaning of the word crown, it is the topmost part of the head. That is actually, if you have seen some bishops who wear some very small cap, the cap for bishops, then where they put it, just above the nape of the head, that is the crown. And that is where Professor Karanja Kimani's hair had gone up to. Then now as a style, you will notice we have humor. I don't know, I tried to enact this in drama. We are told that he has a strange habit of smacking his lips as he is talking. Smacking, the meaning of smacking is just like he is slapping them. He's clapping with the lips somehow. Something like he is smacking his lips as he is speaking. And maybe we really need to understand that this one is a strange habit. This one is a strange habit because it means aside from speaking, he is producing some other sounds with the tongue. But again, it is just to show that this particular person is strange in some way. And then now we get to see theme of education because we are told that this particular person is a professor. He is a teacher in the Institute of Development Studies. Actually, there we are brought to know about the University of Nairobi and such like things. So it is good to notice that those are the critical things. Then at the back of your mind, always remember that paragraph number 2 is about Ngobile Melusi. Again, he is presented like a very funny person because we are told that he has a bushy mustache. I know you know the different types of hair in the face. We have the mustache, the eyelashes, we have the sideburns, we have the goatee, and the beard itself. Now, mustache is the beard that grows between the nose and the lip, or on the upper lip. And if you watched the impeachment of Gachagua, there is a lawyer called Ongwae who was asking Mutuse, "You are a lawyer." If you saw that that lawyer, he had a mustache. So I need you to understand that. But again, there is some symbolism there that I need students to understand. We are told that the mustache wriggled over his mouth like a moth fighting to free its wing away. Well, the style is a simile, but again, we are talking about a trapped moth. That is an indication. Actually, that is symbolic of what kind of a man this person is. He is in some type of slavery. And you see now, when he is told to write his occupation, he defiantly means that with some rebellion. He writes with some rebellion, not applicable. Therefore, we are introduced to Angobile Melusi, who is rebellious in a way. So we have seen simile there. We have seen that simile actually could also be said to be some humor, because you can imagine somebody who is speaking and the mustache looks like a moth. I think that is okay. We can proceed. In case you have any question, you can just raise it. Let us proceed.
A younger man, aged about 50, also checked in. Big and flabby, he looked like a failed sumo wrestler. However, this feature...
Sorry, class, please underline failed. Failed. That is not just a word. It is actually bringing out again, this is another character that is a failure. For what reasons? Maybe we are going to see, but circle that word failed.
However, this feature was not evident now. He had buried it under loose robes topped with one of those cone-like capes that always flop to the left side, by design, not flow.
Again,
can I continue?
Again, circle the word flop. Circle the word flop. Flop means to fail again. So why is the author using all those words? Because we want to be shown that all these characters have some kind of weakness. Please proceed.
There was something about his eyes. They narrowed into slits when he relaxed, narrowed further when he smiled, and vanished altogether when he laughed. He registered as Chineke Chiamaka, pastor at the church inside Africa, CIM in Lagos, Nigeria. He took a room on the 6th floor of the West Wing. Last to check in was yet another man, 40 plus years old. His work seemed to be in motion, powered by rebellion. Was it a gesture of protest against someone or something? He checked in as Saif Tahir, engineer, formerly employed by the Ministry of Defense in Tripoli, Libya. He got a room on the 3rd floor of the North Wing.
That is okay. Pause there. Just pause there. Please notice, 2nd paragraph, Karanja Kimani. 3rd paragraph, Ngobile Melusi. 4th paragraph, Chineke Chiamaka. 5th paragraph of the book, that is, of the page, of chapter 1, that is, Saif Tahir. You look at the choice of words that the author is making. You see now, for Chineke Chiamaka, we have flop, failed sumo wrestler. And then again, we are brought to the issue of religion. By the fact that this Chineke Chiamaka is a pastor, then we can just go ahead and say we have theme of religion. Religion is coming out clearly there. Again, now we have Saif Tahir. Saif Tahir, look at the choice of words again. Motion powered by rebellion. Rebellion. Underline the word rebellion. Again, was it a gesture of protest? Protest. Again, he checked in as Saif Tahir, engineer, formally. You underline the word formally because now it means he is no longer employed. But again, as a style, I hope question there, rhetorical question. And in an examination situation, you write use of rhetorical questions. Was it a gesture of protest against someone or something? That's a rhetorical question. You need to notice that. Now, I want you also to realize that there is some big symbolism because each of these fellas is allocated a room in an area that is replica of their countries of origin. For example, Karanja Kimani in the east, he's from East Africa. Ngobile Melusi in the west, he's from West Africa. Oh, South Africa, sorry, not West. Ngobile Melusi, South Africa. If you get Chineke Chiamaka, he's from Nigeria in West Africa, West Wing. If you look at Saif Tahir, he is from Libya in very far North Africa, North Wing. If you are asked about these people, then you will say that even the places where they are settled in the hotel is a representation of their backgrounds, and that symbolism is an indication that the path Alpha 4 are a representation of the whole Africa. So we are talking about whole Africa, not just any part of Africa, but the whole of it. Just proceed. And no, don't proceed. Let us now get the next person. Brian Koech, please proceed. And before you proceed, I like calling that second bit the first phone calls or the phone calls one. The phone calls one. Brian?
I forgot my setup.
It's okay. Just follow. Let me ask Faith, you can just proceed from there. The phone calls one. You can just call it the phone calls one.
Professor Kimani had been in his room for less than an hour when the phone there rang. He looked at his watch, not 7 o'clock yet. He looked out of a window, pitch dark already. How fast falls the African night, like a heavy rain of ink, he thought. He picked up the phone. Is that Professor Kimani? A male voice on the line asked. Professor Kimani did not respond. Hey, I had you picked up, said the voice, already irritated. So, I know you are there. Look, I have an urgent message for you from Agda. It's pronounced Agda as word Agda. Hello, are you still there? Professor Kimani? This time, Professor Kimani responded. Agda, the Agency for Governance and Development in Africa, had sent him here to Banjul. Yes, I am here, he said.
All right, yeah. All right, just pause at that point. Professor Kimani is in his room. But again, I want you to look at this. He looked out of the window. And by the way, in grammar, you have been taught the use of a colon, because you might be asked that in the grammar part. Look at that colon and ask yourself how it has been used. So he looked out of the window, pitch dark. Again, pitch dark. Those are part of some of the words that you can use when writing imaginative compositions, and you get merit takes, by the way. When you write pitch dark, instead of writing it was a dark night, you get a mark. Then now here, how fast falls the African night? Like a heavy rain of ink. That is a simile. Like a heavy rain of ink. That is a simile. And you remember, so most of the similes actually double up as exaggeration or hyperbole for that matter. So that is a simile. At the same time, it is hyperbole. And then now we have a voice. But now this voice, ikona vurugu tu. You see now the voice is calling him, and then the voice is already irritated. So again here, the irritation is symbolic of the fact that the work that this Path Alpha 4 have come to do is not an easy work, and that is why even their leader is irritated. So I want you to notice that there is that irritation, or there is some lack of friendliness between the caller and the receiver. It is an indication that there is a heavy task ahead of them. Proceed.
Good. Agda's message for you is that you accept me as your guide while you are here. Now, before you go worrying about the arrangement, let me assure you that I'll do everything I can to make your mission here a success. You have my word. Nigerian. Professor Kimani guessed from the man's tendency to inject anger into every stressed syllable. Educating Nigeria.
Anger, sorry, that is humor. A person is injecting anger into every stress syllable. Humor.
He
Continue.
added this qualification after taking into account the man's impeccable grammar. Who are you?
Impeccable, just in case they pick it from there and they ask you the meaning of impeccable, it is spotless, or perfect grammar. What I want all of us to have by the time we are done with the English sessions. Perfect grammar. Continue.
Later, snapped the Nigerian. Right now, I want to know if you have received a briefcase I left at your hotel for you. Professor Kimani looked at a briefcase his hotel had just delivered to his room. Yes, I have received it, he said. Just now, in fact, he added, I can't open it. Though, did you scramble its locks, perhaps? It's one.
All right.
One.
Sorry, to scramble, just in case. There are those briefcases that are locked by some numbers. Maybe you take some number in rounds until they match, maybe 3 of them. Now to scramble is to confuse. Actually, to scramble is to put in a different one, in a wrong one. Continue.
It's 1, 1, 2, 4. I'm sorry. What was that? That was its combination lock. Set the lock on that. The briefcase should open. Now, before you do anything foolish, first make sure that it contains all the items that it ought to have. They are listed on a sheet that you already find it inside. Oh, Professor Kimani, that was an order. The voice paused, expecting protest from Professor Kimani. When none came, it gave the rest of its demand. Obey, Professor Kimani, obey. Still, Professor Kimani did not protest.
That is okay. So I think, sorry, yeah, it's okay. In that page, remember, character traits mostly come where characters are speaking. And in this case, then, you will say that this Nigerian man, the caller, at this time we are calling him the caller, or just the guide, as it were. You will say he is proud, because we have seen him giving orders. He is actually commanding at the same time, and at the same time, you will say Professor Karanja Kimani is inquisitive, because he is asking some sort of question. And remember, when somebody asks a question, maybe a series of them, maybe 1 or 2 questions, then you just go ahead and you say he is inquisitive. I can see the question from Mildred. Mildred is asking, what is the major theme? I think she's asking the major theme in the part where we have read from Professor Kimani all the way to the end of part 3. The theme that you could identify here actually is just the theme of leadership, because this Professor Kimani is being led, is being called by the guide so that can be read or be given instructions, and that is it. So far, we cannot really identify any major theme there, but obviously we have the theme of leadership or guidance for that matter. You maybe call it guidance. Although now, if you explain it well, you can say there is some conflict because we see that we are starting with a conflict. There is giving orders, obeying orders, there is anger in every syllable. So in essence, you would say there is some kind of conflict. The major one here that will give is theme of guidance or leadership. I had seen Winnie's hand. Winnie, please ask the question you need to ask. All right, Winnie is okay. I repeat the first character.
Yeah.
All right, the guide, as we see him, number one, he is commanding or authoritative for that matter, commanding or authoritative. At the same time, you will say he is firm because when he is asked about his name, he just thinks later. And there is the use of the word snap. Snap, it is to just get angry at without warning. So again, you can just say that this scholar is also coming out as temperamental. And there is a word that we also like using, the word candid. We say candid, C-A-N-D-I-D, candid. We mean that somebody is just straightforward whenever they are saying something. So with this particular guide, we will say he's just straightforward. He doesn't beat around the bush. By the way, candid means a person who does not beat around the bush. He says something the way it is supposed to be said without using so many words. I think that is fine. Is it okay, Winnie? I think I have mentioned quite a number.
Yes, thank you.
Aya, sawa. And now, Winnie, proceed from page 4 and 5. Winnie, if you are in a position, kindly proceed. If you are not in a position, just notify us, then we pick somebody else.
Excellent, applauded the Nigerian, clearly pleased with his quick victory. So, Professor Kimani, how much time will you need to acquaint yourself with the material in your briefcase? 1 hour. He did not wait for an answer. 1 hour it is then. Good night. Wait, Professor Kimani said, haven't you forgotten something? Me? Forget?
Cut. Okay, well, that word is read acquaint. As much as it is pronounced that way, it is acquaint. And acquaint just means to make yourself familiar. So, how much time will you need to make yourself familiar with the material in your briefcase? And actually, sometimes in an examination situation like in KCSE of 2022, you may be asked the use of particular punctuations. For example, you may be asked, what is the use of this hyphen that is used in your briefcase, hyphen, 1 hour? The use of that hyphen is just to give added information. And by the way, I know your teachers have told you that there is something that we call use of parentheses. That is when we give additional information, and additional information is given by either putting the information in between commas, in between brackets, or in between hyphens, or just after one hyphen. In that case, then we call that parenthesis. And therefore, we can say there is parenthesis here when he adds information by asking a question. How much time would you need? 1 hour. Now, he is not even waiting for an answer. Therefore, again, that 1 hour is a rhetorical question. And it is ironical that it is irony actually, that he is asking, yet he does not need answer. He is asking by giving an order. Proceed.
Me, forget, retorted the Nigerian. Cocky, educated
Proud.
Nigerian.
Proud.
Huh?
Just remember, Proud. Me, forget. He is proud. Character trait, proud. All right, continue.
Cocky, educated Nigerian, Professor Kimani said to himself, now adding up all of his assessment about the man. I ask for your name. Who are you? Oh, that. Let us just say I'm your guide, the man said. I meant your real name, Professor Kimani insisted. Instead of an answer, he heard the line die suddenly from the other end. Comrade Melusi got a familiar call after, Professor Chiamaka later, Engineer Tahir the last. All three said they had failed to open the briefcase. To all the three, the caller gave the key. 1, 1, 2, 4.
That is okay. That is very okay, Winnie. You will just proceed reading. But the meaning of the word cocky, Professor Karanja Kimani thinking to himself, cocky educated Nigeria. Cocky means arrogant. Arrogant. When you say somebody is cocky, you mean somebody is arrogant. And then again, we have theme of secrecy, because this man has totally refused to give his identity. Instead, he has decided to be secretive. So as a matter of fact, also, you can say as a character trait, he is secretive, but there is theme of secrecy. He just says, call me your guide, and that is it. If there is any question, you will just ask as we go on. Now, let us read that next part. Winnie will continue. And that part, I love calling it the explosive interview. Explosive means it exploded. The explosive interview. Proceed.
Dr. Folabi had someone call him from behind. He stopped walking, then turned to look. There she was. She was wearing a scarlet blouse, a black skirt, and red high heels. Who was she? She was not anyone he could remember. Perhaps she had called someone else. He looked around. No one else had stopped. That made sense. She had called his name. She called again. Dr. Folabi, may I please have a word with you? She asked. With me? He asked. Are you sure? I am sure all right. I am sure all right. Which means you will now follow me. This way, please. She led him to a corner with 2 chairs. So sit here. She indicated one of the 2 chairs. 1 minute is all I'll take. Well, maybe I'll take more, but 5 at most. She sat on the other chair. 1 minute, 5 minutes. Where is the difference? He joked. Then he sat as well. My name is Mackenzie, she began.
Pause there, sorry. Now, because you're going to sit the exam in 2026, there is one style we are not mentioning, but that is the first one you should ever think about if you are asked to identify styles, because it will be there. Use of dialogue. So you can see this dialogue here. There is use of dialogue that is evident there. But again now, we are being introduced to the theme of role of media. Role of media is being introduced there. But at the same time, there is some irony. Dr. Afolabi is called by a person he has never seen. This person gives orders. He follows the order. He is taken to a corner and sits. So it is ironical that he takes up those orders, yet this person is a stranger to him. And at the same time, there is one style that I need us to highlight, use of vivid description. I think it was there in part 1 of the book, vivid description, and it is also here. She is being described as having, wearing this and that, and that vivid description is very evident there. Please proceed.
Before I proceed, I was asking if you can kindly explain the role of media.
Role of media is, we are being introduced. Role of media is, you see now, okay, we have not read that bit, but Fiona Mackenzie is a journalist. And we know that the journalist or the media, that is the Voice of America particularly, is very critical in making sure that path alpha triumphs over way omega. So the role of media is being introduced here. Mackenzie now is coming out as a media person, and her importance or her role here is to get information from Dr. Afolabi for us. So the media is being used as part of telling us the story. I hope that is okay, Winnie.
Yes.
All right, proceed.
My name is Mackenzie, she began, Fiona Mackenzie. First, let me thank you for agreeing to sit for this interview. Wait, can I tell you something else before I continue? You see, whenever I say my name is Mackenzie, people look at me quizzically, silently demanding an explanation. And the explanation, Miss Mackenzie is what? He asked. I was adopted by Ian and Elspeth Mackenzie, Scottish missionary. They are back in Edinburgh now, but were in Banjul then. They took me in while I was less than a year old, cute as a button and sharp as a needle. He thought. Her eyes were wide and white like a pair of moons. She continued, my natural parents were Gambian, but I will never see them. They are dead. Oh, well. She wriggled in her chair. Goodness me, what am I doing? Dictating my autobiography. She waved that idea away. Let's talk business now, shall we? She pulled out of her handbag a small device, then switched it on. Mind if I start recording? You are a reporter. He had not thought she was. Yes, from the Gambian News. I see. Now, how can I help you, Miss Mackenzie?
All right, that is okay. Now, I want you to notice, number one, that it is actually ironical, the whole thing, up to the third last line. Dr. Afolabi had not realized that this person is a reporter. But again, we can see some particular styles here. Cute as a button and sharp as a needle. That is a simile. Again here, we are having, her eyes were wide and white like a pair of moons. Again here, those are the words of the narrator, but cute as a button and sharp as a needle, they are words of Dr. Afolabi, and therefore in this case you can say he is observant. He is observant. And again also, we can say that Dr. Afolabi is curious, because when Fiona Mackenzie says that people ask about her name, he also wants to know the explanation, and therefore you would talk about it as being curious. But there is one thing that I want to notice here. You may not be asked about it, but maybe it can be asked in a way. The importance or the role of foreigners. It is the foreigners that brought up Fiona Mackenzie. And they did that. They are actually Scottish missionaries. There is some theme of religion there. And they did that after the death of her natural Gambian African parents. I want you to compare that with now, remember she moved from her Gambian parents and she was brought up by Scottish parents, foreigners. I want you to compare that, because you may be asked from elsewhere in the book, what event is similar? Maybe you can be asked something like that. Look at how now she later as an adult moves from the Gambian News to the Voice of America, from African again, and she is adopted by a foreign media house. I want us to think deeply so that we can dissect the book from its underbellies and understand it very properly. Proceed, Winnie, and if in case anybody has a question, they just ask. I can see Mildred had asked the techniques used by the Nigerian to assert authority. actually those techniques, they may not mean styles. You may just be asked which are the character traits of this Nigerian that help him to assert authority, and he will say he is secretive, he is commanding, he is candid, and so such kind of things. Proceed, Winnie.
I'd like to ask you a few questions, if I may. Yes, you may. In fact, why don't I start you off? My name is Abiola Afolabi, which you seem to now already. You know already, but you can just call me Abiola, my first name. Take it from there. I will. You studied at Harvard University in the USA. Now you teach at the University of Ibadan in Nigeria. She smiled. I got that from the cover of your book, Failure of States. He averted his eyes to enjoy this fame in the correct manner. With humility, he hoped she would easily see through. This black Scot woman surely knew her trade, he thought. When I heard you were here at the Simont Hotel, Dr. Afolabi, I decided to come and see you. So here I am. This is all so funny. Funny? Yes, I expected to see an academic scarecrow dressed in jeans. Instead, I see a well-dressed man who might well be a business person. I'm sorry. I've disappointed you, Miss Mackenzie. 40. What? Your age? 40. No, 45. To my 35, imagine that. Go have your picture taken right now. Dr. Afolabi, you won't always look this good. I am not joking. Go. Miss
All right,
Mackenzie.
all right, all right. Maybe we can just pause there. Here, I actually want us to be keen on the title of the book. And the title of the book is Failure of States. Failure of States. Meaning that, remember the title of the book is Fathers of Nations. It could be Fathers of States if we needed to use some synonyms. So here, Dr. Afolabi has written the book with the title Failure of States, meaning that we are talking about Africa where states have failed. Then I want to ask somebody here. I want to ask somebody here. What does Fiona Mackenzie mean? To my 35, imagine that. What do you think Fiona Mackenzie means when she says, to my 35? Imagine that. What do you think she means when she says, to my 35? Imagine that. I can see Winnie is saying she is 35. That is okay. Any other person with a different guess? All right, that is okay actually. She means that she is 35 years old because, yeah, she is comparing to her age because her guess, there are people who say that that was her guess, but it wasn't. Her guess was 40. Remember, she asks, your age, 40? And then Dr. Afolabi answers, no, 45. So she guesses he is 40, but he is 45. Now he says that she says that she is 35. I think we can proceed from there. We can just have somebody else read. McKenna, tafadhali. Proceed from page 7.
Miss Mackenzie, was there something else you wanted to talk about? She slapped herself on the cheek as if to punish herself. I was beginning to ramble on, wasn't I? Enough. Now then, Africa's heads of state will soon start a debate at the Pinnacle Hotel, 2 streets from there, and I'll be covering the debate for the Gambian News. I understand you will be an advisor to the heads of state during the debate. Could you give me some background? What will be the heart of the debate?
All right. I hope at this juncture we will be right, and you will notice that we can say that Fiona Mackenzie is knowledgeable or informed, because we see that she is so much informed about Dr. Afolabi, including her book and all those things. Therefore, it is good to say that she is informed or knowledgeable. Continue.
They will be debating a document titled Way Omega. You see, not long ago, 20 Nobel laureates discovered a way to develop Africa and then published that discovery in a document with that title. Africa's ministers for planning had a look at it. They liked it. Now Africa's heads of state are in Banjul to adopt it as a common development strategy for all of Africa. That's the background, Ms. Mackenzie. Or did you want actual content? She shook her head. What are your expectations of the summit, Dr. Afolabi? What are my expectations? Please don't get me started. If I expect the summit to be a historic moment, if adopted, Way Omega will change Africa's politics dramatically. Just think, no more military coups, no more rigged elections, well, no more foul play, period. Dr. Afolabi, not all of the heads of state assembled here are fair players. In fact, a few are out-and-out foul players. They rose to power through military coups or rigged elections. Those won't be walking along Way Omega anytime soon, will they?
All right. I want you to notice that in that page there is a series of rhetorical questions, but not many. Actually, the questions that are being asked there will bring us to conclude that Fiona Mackenzie is curious. And that is why she is doing the work of a journalist. Actually, that is an interview, and that is why we called that one the explosive interview. We are having that interview, and then again now, we are brought to the issue that are bedeviling Africa: military coups, rigged elections, foul play, and all that. But again here, we notice that Fiona Mackenzie is pessimistic, because she thinks that it is not possible because not all players are fair. Therefore, she is pessimistic as it is coming out to be. Let us just proceed. I don't know. Let me see. Okay, proceed.
Change is always like that, Ms. Mackenzie. One side of it as defenders of existing arrangements. This, sure about their loss if those arrangements end, fight tooth and nail to keep them. The other side has challengers of existing arrangements.
Now, sorry, McKenna, fight tooth and nail. Actually, those are some of the styles that we ask you to use when you are writing imaginative composition. They are called idiomatic expressions, fight tooth and nail. So always make sure you use them. And if you do that, you will score a lot of merit takes and therefore high marks. Proceed. McKenna.
This, not yet sure about their being if new arrangements replace old arrangements, do not fight so hard to win them. Huh? What did you just say, Dr. Afolabi? You're not listening to me anymore, are you, Miss Mackenzie? Anyway, I was saying Way Omega will put Africa on a new course, free from obstacles that have defeated its past efforts. Imagine this, Miss Mackenzie, Africa without coups, without civil wars, without... He stopped himself. Look who is rambling on now, Miss Mackenzie. Yet can you blame me? I told you not to get me started. Remember? Yes, I remember. And yet when you have your book, and yet we have your book, Failure of States. Dr. Afolabi, may I ask you something? What makes you this optimistic about Africa's future now when In that book, you are very pessimistic. Is it the content of Phi Omega or the prestige of its authors? He began to dislike her. Miss Mackenzie, did you say my book was pessimistic? Yes, I did. Was pessimistic really the word you meant? You see, the word means. Let me try again, Dr. Afolabi. What makes you optimistic now when before you were pessimistic? Miss Mackenzie, I heard you the first time. Then answer my question. I see I had totally misjudged you, Miss Mackenzie. He had seen a lamb, vulnerable. Now he saw a lioness, dangerous. I thought you were a proper good-mannered journalist. Instead, I just see one of those fire eaters who confuse journalism with bad manners. Dr. Folabi, you haven't answered mine. What, what joy do you get out of being rude to those you interview? You like watching them explode from anger, then bleed. Is that it? Fine, but we have just met. What did I do? What did I do that offended you? Let me put my question another way, Dr. Folabi. Why did you come to this summit? Correction, I didn't come, I was invited. That means presidents wanted me here. Repeat, presidents. They saw merit in this book you dismiss as pessimistic and wanted me to assure them that Phi Omega agrees with it. So who cares what you think? What do you know about books anyway? Let me tell you something else, Miss Mackenzie. He changed his mind. A voice inside him was saying he had become too defensive. On further thoughts, let me note, I don't think I have to defend me. I don't think I have to defend my book before anyone, least of all before a third-rate reporter for the Zambian news. Gambian, she said, whatever. All right, Dr. Afolabi, now you can think through your book and give me an example, a specific example on which Phi Omega agrees with your book. Yes, I can.
All right. Let us just pause at that. There is one thing that has come out clearly, that Dr. Afolabi is emotional. Emotional, you can also call it sentimental. Sentimental means somebody has excess emotions, sentimental or emotional. At the same time, remember, we have already identified Mrs. Mackenzie as being inquisitive. But now this one here is emotional. Again, as a style, we can see that we have use of metaphor, because we see in page 9, I see I had totally misjudged you, Miss Mackenzie. He had seen a lamb. Vulnerable. Now he saw a lioness, dangerous. So that is a metaphor. But now, if you talk about the whole line there, he had seen a lamb, vulnerable. Now he saw a lioness, dangerous. We have some style that we may just call juxtaposition or just comparing. We compare what he had seen and what he sees now. Again, there is a time somebody asked about parallelism. I remember in our first lesson, there is somebody who asked about parallelism. Now you see how the sentence is structured. He had seen a lamb, semicolon, vulnerable. Now he saw a lioness, semicolon, dangerous. Now in this case then, we are having parallelism, because we are having two sentences that are structured in the same way, but now they are giving us different information, and actually they are bringing yet another style, that is contrast. But at the same time, we also want to say that Dr. Afolabi is arrogant. Remember, arrogant is the excess of proud. If somebody is proud, when they are very proud, it becomes arrogant. You see, he is even saying that he did not come. He was called, and not by any other person, but by the presidents. So in that case, you would say that he is arrogant, and he becomes arrogant to an extent that he even purports to have forgotten. He is actually so emotional that instead of even saying Gambian news, he says Zambian news. That is a little bit humorous. There is humor there in the way he forgets. And now when he is corrected, he is actually responding arrogantly again. He just says, whatever. That is okay. I think you could notice those things. If there is any addition, please do. If there is any addition, please make it. If there is any question, is juxtaposition the same as contrast? Juxtaposition, basically, by definition, is where you put two things side by side. You put two things side by side, mostly to show that there is some relationship. Juxtaposition is, I would say that you list things together. You list things together to show the differences or similarities. Like here, we are talking of a lioness and we are talking of a lamb. We have put them side by side to show, in this case, we have shown it is the same person, but now the characters are different. So juxtaposition means you put things near each other or side by side to show to emphasize on comparison, basically. I hope that is clear for the person that had asked that question. Zeneta, iko sawa hiyo? Zeneta, juxtaposition, when you put two things side by side so that you can amplify their differences. Okay, I can see that is okay. Now we can just proceed with page 10 and 11. And let me ask who now? Leah, if you are in a position, proceed.
Her
Leah?
mobile phone rang. Her mobile phone rang. She answered it. As she did, she was already gathering her things, preparing to leave. Dr. Folabi, I have to go, she said. Silly boss wants me back at the office. Something has come up. Sorry. So, Dr. Folabi, in only one word now, because I have no time left. What's the specific example you are to give? Let me see if I understand you correctly, Miss Mackenzie, he said, suppressing hot anger. A man you claim is your boss calls you. Therefore, I must compress my example into a word. You know bosses, they don't like to be kept waiting. She picked up her things. Listen, I really must go. She rose and started leaving. Then she stopped. I could come. Will that be okay? Absolutely not, he almost shouted. Then what do you suggest? She asked. I suggest that you go read my book, not just its cover. He stood up. Now, if for the summit, all looked happy, and why not? Had they escaped from trouble?
Yeah. Leah? Sorry, I had lost you. I don't know whether everybody else had lost you or it is my network. But before you proceed to that other part, I want to say this. Dr. Afolabi's character trait of being sentimental is coming out clearly. And when he is sentimental, now another character trait comes out. He comes out as cat, or we say cat. C-U-R-T, C-U-R-T, C-U-R-T. Actually, that is the best because we do not want to say he is rude. We want to say he is cat. Cat is where somebody is brief, especially to the point of almost being rude. So he is being asked, when is it okay? He says, absolutely not. In that case, then we say he is cat. Actually, when he is asked to compress whatever he wanted to say into a statement, he asks, so just because you have been called by a boss, you want me to compress my statement into one sentence? Again, he is cut. We don't want to use the word rude, but now we can use the word cut, as I have told you, C-U-R-T, as a character trait that we can pick up here. So as you proceed, that other part, I want us to call it, I will write it here, the intricacies of hosting, the intricacies of hosting. You see, now I have also decided to use a big word. Ndio hata mimi munione mimi ndi yule mse. Intricacies means hosting is an intricate thing. And the word intricate means technical. Intricate means it is complicated, basically. So the complications of hosting. But now we have used intricate to show that it is a very complex, actually, kind of a thing. I think that is okay. Intricacies of hosting. Let us proceed. That is the title of that bit that we are reading now. Proceed.
49 heads of states were in Banjul for the summit. All looked happy, and why not? Had they not escaped from troublemakers in their home countries? They saw ahead of them a stay free from trouble here. In the Gambia, a country everyone kept calling the land of Kunta Kinte. All hoped to give from their stay as much rest as possible. Of course, at some point, they will each take the floor and, as fans back home expected, address the summit, but this was something that they could do with little or no effort at all. For Gambians, though, the presence of many visiting dignitaries was not fun. True, 49 heads of state could give a hosting country good publicity, but heads of state are huge inconvenience, so this publicity comes at a high price. Nowhere is the price higher than it is in Africa. Here, before the dignitaries arrive, bulldozers dispatched at night in slum clearance exercises demolished roadside kiosks on which whole families depend for their livelihood. This way, the dignitaries will see that a few streets once had sidewalks. Roads get rare layers of tarmac at times of maximum traffic. This way, motorists come to a standstill when it really hurts. Checkpoints sprout everywhere. This way, guards get even more buses for extorting bribes from passers-by. When the dignitaries arrive, water taps at which whole neighborhoods queue to get just buckets of water dry up, because now all water has to go to new water fountains built to mesmerize the visitors. Catastrophes.
All right, pause there. Now, up to that bit, I want you to see satire. And many students really struggle to understand satire. Now we usually say that this novel is a satirical novel. Satire. Maybe just to remind you, it is where we ridicule our subject. It is where we provoke the subjects or the people we are talking about by highlighting their shortcoming. We highlight the shortcoming of the people. Now here we have the theme of poor leadership. Poor leadership. Because we are having 49 heads of state. And look at what we are told. We are told that they are happy. We are told that they are happy. And why not? They had escaped from troublemakers in their home countries. So it is actually ironical. It is an irony that the heads of state look at their own subjects, the citizens in their country, as troublemakers. Again, there is poor leadership here where bulldozers are dispatched in slum clear. I hope I am clear. As if that is not enough. Am I still clear, Leah?
Yes, you are.
All right. As we are told that the buckets, water is already scarce anyway, because whole neighborhoods queued just to get buckets of water. Not even so much water, buckets of water, but now they have dried up because mesmerize the then we are brought hypocritical, and therefore normally there is no, because of hypocrisy, so that the about all that layers of tarmac at time of maximum traffic. Please check on that. And then now it brings out the theme of pain and suffering. Poor leadership, pain and suffering. And it brings out the character of those particular leaders as being insensitive to the plight of the poor people. Insensitive to the plight of the poor people. Please proceed.
Catastrophes can happen even at summits. At the Banjul summit, preventing them from happening was a joint responsibility of the Ministry of Internal Security and the Ministry of Defense. This meant both the police and the army played major roles. They came up with a very effective way of assuring that all heads of state will be safe. It was this: all heads of state, including the host, will stay in one place, the Pinnacle Hotel, located on the exclusive outskirts of Banjul. What this did was to reduce the 50 problems of assuring the safety of 50 guests scattered in 50 different locations to just one problem of assuring the safety of 50 guests concentrated at only one point. Security now became no more than the elementary task of ensuring that the Pinnacle became and remained an impenetrable fortress. This rested on two pillars.
Sorry. The meaning of the word fortress is a hiding place. A fortress is somewhere that cannot be accessed. Please proceed.
This approach rested on two pillars: intelligence and combat. Intelligence melting into every hideout in Banjul. Their assignment was to investigate all rumors about plans to storm the Pinnacle and harm its new guests. That duty went to the police. Combat meant trained soldiers would engage in battle with any unauthorized person who did as much as come near the Pinnacle. This duty fell on the army. The army was very clever about it. First, it trained the perimeter fence encircling the Pinnacle with 1,000 soldiers. Then it deployed 100 commandos in the compound inside the fence. Each of the soldiers and commandos outside the fence and in the compound within carried a real gun. So, while the sky above may have remained open, the ground below was fully covered. This was very clever.
All right. I hope you can see that satire. This was very clever. Actually, that is sarcastic. Do you think it was very clever? The ground is covered, but the sky is open. So whatever the author is implying here is that you cannot really hide. As much as they have made Pinnacle Hotel a fortified place, but ideally they have not even covered up there. And then again, we have two themes there. Number one, we have misuse of public resources. Misuse of public resources, because the army and the soldiers are public resources, but now they are used to make a ring or to make a fence. Imagine a fence of human beings. That is use of misuse of public resources. Again, here we have theme of poor leadership. It is coming out clearly because the soldiers are used for very wrong reasons. Use of poor leadership for that matter. And then again, we have irony. Irony. The one that we have said is satire, it's also irony. The army was very clever about it. And then down there, this person says, this was very clever. That is irony. It is ironical that they are pretending to be very clever, but whatever they are ending up doing is a very foolish thing. Please proceed.
There still remained Banjul's duty to extend to each head of state his or her due respect. This duty is commonly known as protocol. At the summit, it fell on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of International Cooperation. What these ministries did was to divide into two separate parts. The first was how to seat the heads of state. At a feast, the Gambia was treating them to a state house on the day they arrived. The second was how to accommodate them at the Pinnacle Hotel, where they could stay between their arrival and their departure. No one who was played host at a feast of more guests than just himself or herself needs to be told that the seemingly simple task of seating guests for a meal is in fact a complicated business. Should these guests sit here and eat next to this one, that one, or sit there and eat next to that other one? The permutations and combinations that the host has to consider quickly became countless. For one guest, just one.
Sorry, I want you to notice that the government of Gambia is very petty. Very petty. Actually, whatever is bothering them is how to sit these heads of state in a banquet or in a meal, for a feast, actually. So in essence, it is coming out that all these African leaders are greedy, because the only thing that is actually bringing them problems is how to sit during the feast. So you would call them, they are coming out as petty. And at the same time, it is okay to say that there is use of rhetorical questions. Actually, we have quite a number of rhetorical questions there. Proceed.
For one guest, just one, there was already 4 options from which the host must choose. The guest could sit on the left or the right of the host, or in front or behind the host. 5 guests, there are more than 700 such options. By the count of 10 guests, this number had jumped over 30 million. The Gambia did not have only 10 guests, it had 49. In addition, they were not just guests, they were presidents. What happens then? What happens when the guests are not just guests, but presidents? Now the host simply plays it safe. Eritrea and Ethiopia might seem one country, the host reasons, but their presidents rarely see eye to eye, so they should not be seated next to each other. On the other hand, the host continues to reason. Kenya and Tanzania agree more often than disagree. So the president should sit next to each other and chat away in Kiswahili, and so on. This approach eliminates many options and, in that way, simplifies choice. In fact, when the host is entertaining only 2 or 3 heads of state, it works wonders. However, if instead there are 49, it is practically worthless because it leaves millions of options from which the host must choose.
All right. That bit is showing us actually the heads of state protocols at the summit during the feast. That is actually the very first thing. And then now the other bit that we are going to read is now how the accommodation arrangements actually, that will be in page 15. But page 14 actually is a continuation of the protocols at the summit and the feast for that matter. And I want to ask who? Zeneta, have you read? Zeneta, have you read?
No.
All right, please read. All right, Zeneta is not in a position to read. Oh, Levi. Levi? Can see Zeneta, you have some background noise. Levi, please. Levi, please read page.
What happens when the guests are not just guests, but presidents? Now the host simply plays it safe. Eritrea and Ethiopia might seem one country. The host reasons, but the presidents rarely see eye to eye, so they should not be seated next to each other. On the other hand, the host continues to reason. Kenya and Tanzania agree more often than they disagree, so the president should sit next to each other and chat away in Kiswahili and so on. This approach eliminates many options and in that way simplifies choice. In fact, when the host is entertaining only 2 or 3 heads of state, it works wonders. However, if instead there are 49, it is practically worthless because it leaves millions of options from which the host must choose. Then what do hosts do at state banquets, where definitely are many? They follow the United Nations like the UN. They ignore all rumors about who is speaking or not speaking to whom and simply seat everybody in alphabetical order. Come what may, alphabetical seating has one huge advantage. It is easy because now there is only one way of seating everybody. A happier world than that is hard to imagine. Still, it has one big problem. Seating everyone in alphabetical order means Algeria and Angola always get the best seats, up in front, near the high table. When the sound system or lights fail, these 2 countries can still follow the proceedings. Unfortunately, alphabetical seating also means Zambia and Zimbabwe always get the worst seats, way over there at the back, from where they cannot even see the high table. When the sound system fails or the lights go out, big problem. What other option is there? Scramble the alphabet and move Zambia and Zimbabwe nearer the high table, and Algeria and Angola further away from it? People will not be able to find the seats that way. The trick they use to find seats work sequentially. Millions scan the sea of seats before them in sequence until they spot a Malawian or a Mozambican. Then they say, Eureka, our guest must be somewhere between those 2. Now, scramble this approach. What happens? Chaos. Banquet halls cease to be navigable. So Zambia and Zimbabwe can complain all they want, but the seats just have to be at the back. Algeria and Angola, way to go. Hotel accommodation.
All right. At that point, look at the series of rhetorical questions. What happens? What other options are there? We have questions like, then what do hosts do at state banquets when the guests definitely are many? All those, you could see the rhetorical questions there. So we have styles of rhetorical question, but the overriding theme or the major theme that is coming out here is the theme of poor leadership. We are seeing people who are petty. Actually, they are focusing on the minus. We say they are measuring on the minus. Now, this last bit is accommodation arrangements for the heads of state. Let us read it. Continue, Levi.
Hotel accommodations involved 2 questions. First, what floor should this head of state or that get? Second, how many rooms his or her delegations have? The first question was easy. Heads of state got floors up or down, the pinnacle in the alphabetical order of the country's official names. Once more, Algeria and Angola got top floors under A. Way to go. Botswana, Burkina Faso, and Burundi followed under B. Now, attention. The Ivory Coast did not come under I. It came under C, among the lakes of Cameroon, the Comoros, and Congo, because its official name is Cote d'Ivoire. Djibouti and the rest came after C. For some unknown reason, the Federal Republic of Nigeria did not come under F. It came under N, alongside Namibia and Niger. Zambia and Zimbabwe, of course, came last. The second question was, how many rooms should a head of state's delegation get? This question sounds easy, but it is not. Except for the United Nations General Assemblies, Africa summits are the world's largest gatherings of heads of states. Moreover, each head of state is accompanied by a delegation with members of an unknowable number. So, how many rooms should a delegation get? This is not easy. Gambians can be clever, and in this case, they were. They assumed that all delegations, big or small, having arrived in Banjul safely, have to be equal. If only for that reason, very clever. This assumption enabled them to divide the number of rooms available equally among all delegations. The result was 4 rooms per delegation, and that was that. Case closed.
All right, that is okay. There is theme of wastage. Theme of wastage. Look at this line in the last paragraph. Moreover, each head of state is accompanied by a delegation with members of unknowable number, unknowable wastage. And that is actually exaggeration as a style, because with the people you cannot say unknowable number. But now we are just showing that the heads of state have so many delegations, which leads to wastage of public resources. So again, here we can have wastage of public resources as a theme here. But ideally, what we are seeing in the first chapter, particularly where we are having preparations to host the summit, where we see the security arrangements, where we see the heads of states protocols at the feast, and where we see the accommodation arrangements, we are shown that heads of state in Africa are very petty. And actually, it is being used to show us that even that summit that they have gone to do there is not a serious summit. They are not actually so serious about it. They are discussing issues and they are concerned about issues that are not quite important. And therefore, that is why we validate Dr. Abiola Afolabi's book and its title, Failure of States. So we are noticing that the states here have failed. That is chapter 1. It sounds good reading together. And at least I love the fact that the network today is very good. Everybody who is reading has read very well. I have recorded actually the whole of our today's lesson without any shake-up, and therefore, for those of us that will join later, they will have something to follow up. So maybe just more background. Please bring your friends on board so that we can have a robust class. Remember, Reading Club is just raising our reading culture and making us enthusiastic. And I believe by the time we are finishing reading this book the way we are reading, we will be knowing it inside out. And I will be very much assured that each of us is going to get a grade of A in English without so much struggle. Because we will have, aside from now reading the book for answering questions, it is helping us to develop the liking for English, and that is it. So like I said, and like you saw in the poster, we are going to have these lessons in the day this week. That is from mostly from 10 to noon. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then now, because this is the end of our main program, next week we will do it in the evenings, if you see it fine, from 8 to 10 every day. And I believe it will be a good one. I can see McKenna has raised her hand. McKenna, is it your hand that I see? Ama ni nini naona pale? Oh, sorry. It is the cursor. It is the cursor of my laptop. So please ask your guardians to facilitate it so that we can have a smooth one. At least a few of you have facilitated. Let the others facilitate. And again, you bring more people on board so that many people can get assistance and then we can get the reading culture. I don't know whether somebody has a question. If anyone has a question, please ask. If anyone has a question, please ask. If anyone has a question, please ask. All right. Any comment? Any comment? Any comment? Any comment? Brian Koech, how do you like how we have gone about it? The first lesson, the first chapter. Brian Koech. That is okay. So let us keep up the spirit and let us be very enthusiastic about English. So I want us to end the lesson there by having a prayer that is said by who has not spoken in this class. If you have not spoken, please say the closing prayer for us. If you have not spoken, just unmute. Okay, if you have spoken and you have sufficient grace, please say the closing prayer for us. Just unmute and say the closing prayer, and then we end the lesson for today, and then we wait for the evening lesson. Anybody? Then let, I can see Akim has said Brian Koech to pray. Aya, Brian Koech, you have been volunteered. Please notice that is not grammatical. You have been volunteered to pray.
Let's bow for prayer. Mighty everlasting Father, come to this time tonight. Thank for the gift of life. Thank you for the Lord. For the English lesson that we just had, O Lord. Bless the teacher who took us through, O Lord. For your Yahweh and Omega. May you bless us all and give us knowledge to do your will, O Lord. For anything that I'm for,
Amen. Thank you, Brian. Have a good afternoon, everybody.